Alright, now since I'm in here changing my water pump and all these other hoses anyway, I decided to go ahead and change the AC drive belt, compressor drive belt, because it's a 2013 car and the belt has a date stamp on it that says 2012. So this is kind of jumping in the middle here, but you know, if your water pump was on there, it really wouldn't matter. What you need to do is, you know, probably take off this the turbo reservoir that sits here, the expansion tank. You'd definitely have to take off your electric fan, because you got to get down here to the crank pulley. So you've got to take off your serpentine belt, and this is T60 torque that goes into your idler pulley down here. I don't know, I'm not showing it very well, but if you're going to do this job, you're going to figure all that stuff out anyway. Right, then you're going to have to, on this, what we're going to have to do is loosen up. There's 4 E Torx bolts down there, and then where you can't see down in there, or maybe you can, I'll drop the phone down here. That center bolt in there, okay, you can see it, that's a 27 millimeter crank bolt. And what we're going to do is we're going to spin the engine clockwise. So if you're looking at the front of the car like I am, that pulley, we're going to turn it to the right. There's a lot going on here. So that house looking thing, it's just pointed to the left right now. That means if I loosen up those 4 Torx bolts, that thing is immediately going to slide to the left. It's going to release the tension on this belt. Okay, so what I want to do first is spin that house thing up towards probably about 180 degrees, pointed the other way. Then I'll loosen up the external Torx bolts, and then I'll rotate that crank pulley until it looks again like it is now, except with those Torx loose, and it's going to let that pulley slide over and release the tension on that belt. Alright, we'll call that good. Okay, and these are E12s. E12. Okay, and for me, those all loosened right up. They were no trouble at all. See, got them loosened up. Just make sure you get that socket on there all the way before you start trying to loosen them. You don't want to strip the head off of one of the external Torx bolts. You're going to have a big problem. Alright, once you get your E12 bolts loose, go ahead and take them out, but make sure that that arrow is pointed. Towards, as you're looking at the front of the car, towards the right of the car. Okay, this should be quite exciting. And there you can see the snap ring that hopefully is going to hold that pulley on. There, you saw it move some already. Well, a bit anticlimactic, I suppose, but looks like it has worked as advertised. And there you go. That is one loose AC compressor belt, per the book. And this way, let me show you the date code on here. Yeah, see, February 4th, 2012. So this is original to the car, and it doesn't look terrible. I've taken ones off that were much worse than that. But I'm doing all this other work to the water system anyway, to the cooling system, so now's the time. On this particular car, I have opted to replace it with Gates. Got this from O'Reilly's for about $19, K040315. And they look pretty close. It's hard for me to measure this with one hand here, but my assumption is these are going to be this. I've got the right belt here in hand. Sure looks like it to me. I'll measure that a little more officially without the camera, but actually, you know what? I'm not. What did Bill O'Reilly say that time? Okay, we'll do it live. Alright, I couldn't do it live because too much stuff in the way. I just slipped it over the, and I couldn't hold everything. So I just slipped it over the pulley like so. Both pulleys. And now we're gonna crank this dude back. And it should get pretty hard to crank as we start stretching this belt out. And now's a good time to make sure it's fully on your pulleys, which it doesn't look like that is right there. Now I've got it on there where it needs to be in the grooves. And now, so we can tighten. Let's see what happens. Boom. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's how that's done, and with any luck, our bolt holes will be lined back up, and it appears they are. Throw our bolts in there, put some German torque on them, and as you can see, this belt is nice and tight, replaced. Good to go for another 8 years, I hope. And if this is the only job you're doing, you can, again, you're going to have the water pump and all this crap in your way. I imagine you'll probably have to go ahead and put your electric fan back in, put your turbo expansion tank and all that stuff back on, whatever electrical connectors you had to take off. And of course, I've got the alternator out too. So, but this makes it easier to see what's going on, so that if you're doing it without taking all this stuff off, you have an idea of what to look for, how it's going to sound, react, all that stuff. Good luck.